Hello and good day, everybody. My name is Ursula Brett. Some of you might know me. I have been in the hair and beauty industry for over 30 years, predominantly doing marketing, and have in subsequent years got very deep into social media and seeing how we can utilize that within our hair and beauty salons. I'm not a hairstylist, but I do know what it's like to run a salon and to control your brands, control your staff. There's so much that goes into it, and it's very admirable for anybody who's doing that. So whether you run a salon or whether you work for yourself, I always encourage people to understand what social media can do for your business. So even if somebody else is running it for you, it's imperative, I would say, to know what is available and how things work, because they might not know your industry and miss out on opportunities that you know might work very, very well. So, but I'm always available if anybody has any questions. You're welcome to DM me anytime or email me, ursulabrett@gmail.com. What I want to do today is just have a quick look at, I remember the old days, I think it's even more than 20 years later, when all of this materials were individual items, now all fits onto a cell phone. You know, marketing in the old days was very, very different. When I started in the industry in 1988, computers were only just coming out, and there wasn't even such a thing as a mouse or Windows. Things ran in a system called DOS, but there I'm really showing my age. And a lot of people did advertising and things in totally different ways, which we'll get into in. But just to give you an idea now, so digital marketing has taken over everything, but it's given opportunities for people that is much more affordable than the old days where print, for example, was very expensive, or putting anything into magazines would be very expensive. So there's just an intro of who I am, and I have a website called Salon Central, which I'm upgrading at the moment, but it might be upgraded by the time you watch this. Follow us on our Facebook Hairstyles South Africa group. We've got about 8,000 people there at the moment, and it's a great place to chat to other stylists, and there's consumers on there as well. So we want to educate them and share your hairstyles with them so they can see the fantastic talent that we have in our country. These are some of the brands that I have worked with over the years. Very fortunate to have been working for companies and brands where I have a passion. I've always had a passion for this kind of industry and hair and beauty. So just a quick brief of some of the things that I cover when I do my classes. And that is marketing, which is what we're going to do today. Today is marketing. We're going to be looking at the marketing plan. We'll have a quick look at what the options are available now and what used to be, a little bit about image and branding, and then we'll go straight into the marketing plan. The rest, which is using your options, knowing how to leverage for your business, knowing your audience, which is paramount, and then promotions and planning, will all be in separate videos. So let's get started and have a quick look at what some of the options are now. So in the old days, your image was very important. Print media was available. Loyalty programs came out a bit later, I think in the 90s and the early 2000s. Loyalty programs became very big. And then any kinds of promotions, and the referrals and word of mouth were probably your strongest way of getting known out there. So if a friend liked your hairstyle or your nails or your makeup, they would ask you who did it, and you would give them their phone number. Now we're in an age where you tell them who it is, and they go straight to Instagram or Facebook and have a look at all your work that you have out there. So it's very important to make sure those elements of your business are up and running. So yeah, these are the options that we have now. Website, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube. We can add onto their TikTok, and there's always more and new ones that are coming. Whether you need to use all of those or not is another story. I don't believe you do need to use all of those. Knowing who your audience is will determine which of those you should use. And when I go into knowing your audience, I've got some incredible hacks of knowing, getting very deep into knowing and understanding who your client is. And then we have Google My Business, which is really, everybody should have that. I can run a separate video on that. Let me know if you don't know how to use Google My Business. Basically, if you somebody goes into Google and searches hair or nails or beauty salons, and for example the area that they're in, you want to be one of those that come up in the search. And I'm not talking about Google AdWords where you're doing paid advertising. It's the one that shows up in maps because they're in that vicinity. So that's called Google My Business. You can actually Google My Business and watch a quick video on how it all works. And then use other available websites or apps that can help you connect as well. So if we have a quick look at image, this is what Seth Godin says. He's quite a guru and an entrepreneur. He's been around for many, many years. Very successful author and entrepreneur. He says that everything that we do is marketing. It's the name of things. It's the price of things. It's the way you answer the phones and the way that you dress. It's the way that things work. You're judged on these things. So your logo, when somebody is looking at it, I mean, I don't think you should spend months and months deciding on the color, your design, this kind of thing, but make sure that once you do have it, that it runs right throughout. Your store exterior is very important. What is it saying to people if they're walking past? If you've got in your interior, does it match your exterior? And what is it saying about who you are and what you offer? Your staff, do they all look and dress the same? Have you got sort of certain words and ways that they greet people when they come through the door, and when they answer the phone, are they actually encouraging people to book instead of just saying, yes, this is the price of an item that somebody's asked for, can I book you in? We have one of the best professionals around in this area that can help serve you on such and such a day, for example. And then any print material, whether it's a price list or a treatment menu that you might have at your retail station or at your blow drying station, where a client might be sitting and might not know some of the other offerings that you have. You could print out some really beautiful print material there that they could see, oh, I didn't realize that this salon actually also does XYZ. And then your social media should follow through with everything else of your image so that it all makes sense. So your image is what makes your brand different. So to stand out, you need to be totally different in something. Otherwise, you're competing in the same market as any other business in your area. You want to be the best at something and make it work for you. People must want to drive to your business, choose you above any others. So you need to figure out what that angle is. Sometimes you might have a staff member or yourself who is specifically good at blow drying or doing wedding hair or adding specific color, or it could be the way that you treat people when they come through the door. It could be what are you offering people when they come through the door. So figure out what those things are. So it might be over and above your actual work that you do. You might be fantastic with highlights. Make a song and dance about that kind of thing, and promote that. Use that on your social media and anywhere else, any print material, anything else that you do. This is just a quick little idea of how things should look cohesive. So this is a flyer. This is maybe an A5 flyer, probably back to back. It's very cleverly done, this one, because they've used pastel colors. And what's fantastic about this one in particular is the specials that they're doing, the 20% off, which normally is the most prominent feature on a flyer, is very cleverly put in the top left-hand corner. and their services that they offer is the main feature. I really love this. To me, this is very classy and classic, and I would want to know more about a salon like this, as opposed to say something that's loud and gaudy. Listen, it's very difficult to just say, let's just design something. We're not all designers, but yeah, one of the things I'll teach you about also is using Canva, how to create this kind of thing without using a specific graphic designer, something you can do yourself perhaps. This is just an idea of a salon that created their mood board before they started or opened their salon. So that is what their logo would look like, that's their color palette, and any other ways that they would write their salon name. So they would possibly use one of those on social media. If they're ever using new backgrounds, they've got some background colors and textures that they can use already pre-prepared. So when it comes to doing any graphics, they already have that in mind. Just some ideas of how image has flowed from the opening of the salon, the front of the salon, right through. Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. So it's great to want to do social media, but I feel that you need to know what that direction is. If you've been going for many, many years and you know exactly all the information you need to know about your salon, in other words, what are we doing with retail, how much, you know all your figures and all your stats, then that's basically what you're going to need to know. I do feel that this year has probably thrown everybody for a loop and will skew a lot of the figures that you evaluate now. It might be best to look at previous years and just have a reanalysis, 2019 versus 2020, having been through everything we've been through. But you will know how your business has adapted or is still adapting. So the marketing plan we're going to look at today is always about client retention and new clients. So I feel like a lot of people focus on trying to gain new clients when client retention is probably more important, because what is the point of getting new clients if you're not keeping the ones that you have? And there's lots of information we could go into about client retention and how to do that, but that is for a whole other video. So we're going to have a look today at 5 approaches. It's the audit, where are we now? The goals, where do we want to be? The approach, how can we get there? The implementation, what tools are we going to use to help us get there? And then always evaluate. And once you've done that cycle, you could probably just keep going, because once you have done your evaluation, you have the information to start again. This could run for your specific period. You could do this over a quarterly period, a month-on-month period, a half-year period, a year-on-year period. You could also run this specifically just for a promotion, or just for retail, or just for hair services. But yeah, we're looking at the salon in its entirety, or your business in its entirety, just for the purpose of this exercise. So for the start of the marketing plan, there is a downloadable PDF that you can have a look at, which will give you some of this information, because we're going to look now at the audit. So where are we now? So it's one thing to say, okay, we know who we want to reach, let's just create a Facebook ad. But I think doing an audit of and seeing where your business is now, especially what we've come through, is probably going to be paramount. So you're going to look at financial. What were your financial goals last year, or last quarter, or last month, whatever you're comparing with each other? What did most of your revenue come from existing clients or from new ones? How many new salon clients have you gained did you gain last year or the last period that you're comparing with? How many have returned for the second time? Which of your services are the most profitable? Has the average spend per client increased? And when did you last increase your prices? So they sound like very, very deep, and I think they really are, because that is the backbone of your entire business. So it's very important to look very closely at each of these. Then when we have a look at your clients, which client segment was your most profitable last year? By what percentage has your customer base grown in the last 12 months or 6 months or quarterly? Are you really giving your clients that wow experience? And maybe sometimes it's best to just step back and ask yourself that. Maybe carry out a customer survey. And what percentage of clients only visited once and never returned? And then what are you actually doing about those people? Is somebody phoning them to find out or to entice them back for other services? And then look at complaints and feedback. What did your clients think of your hair and beauty salon? It's very important. Sometimes you might see that only on social media, and approach those people and find out why they feel like they do. I mean, you can't please everybody, but you also cannot ignore the complaints and feedback that you have. And are your team and your salon sending out the right brand messages to clients, which is something we touched on a little bit. It's very important what your branding and your image says about you. If we have a look at your competitors, identify your top local competitors that you had in that last period. Maybe carry out a mystery shop. Send a mystery shopper to one of your competitors. I don't know if it's something that everybody should do. I wouldn't focus too much on what your competitors do, but it is good to just keep a close eye on them. You don't want to copy them. It's so important to be authentic. I would say that that's the most important thing you can be at the moment, is your authenticity is what's going to come through. So look at their strengths and their flaws, just to give yourself an idea, your competitors. And then pricing comparison is not a bad idea. Being cheapest is not the best. So don't worry about being cheapest. That is not the way to go. Then have a look at the website ranking on Google. So maybe that Google My Business that we spoke about, see if they come up in the area as well when you Google your salon. And then read any online social media reviews that they may have, and possibly even join their email newsletter if they do have one, and make sure that you have one yourself. And then marketing activity and tools. So your brand, look at your salon marketing materials, any ads that you're doing, whether it's digital or print, any leaflets, salon graphics, prices and treatment guides, any boards that you're putting up. Are they on trend? Are they on brand? Because they need to be a great selling tool, or do they look a little bit outdated and maybe need to be refreshed? Because as time goes by, colors, trends change, fonts change. We don't even realize these things, but it shows up in everything. It shows up in decor, it shows up in cars and colors, it shows up in all the fashion items and all the stores and all the malls. And so the minute that something is outdated, it stands out more without you even realizing that trends have moved on. Your website, is it mobile friendly? That's super important. I've got a whole video about stats, and the majority of people are on social media using their mobile. Very, very few in comparison are using it on desktop. You can see, when they come into your salon there, they will be sitting looking at their phones while they're there. So is it mobile friendly? And how does your website compare to your competitors? And then just check your copywriting on that. You don't want it to look chunky and out of date either. You want it to keep it fresh and up to date, and make sure that you're not overcrowding it with too many words that are unnecessary, and keep it authentic as well. And then check in your database, how much has that grown over the last period? Because if you are growing your database, whether it is through social media or through your website, it's very important to make sure that you're not just, it's one thing to have, for example, 1,000 or 10,000 followers on, say, a Facebook page, but you don't really own those people. So you want to entice them away from there to be able to get their email address or their cell phone number for SMSing purposes, or their email address for newsletter. And I say newsletter as a very, very loose term because I think that that is something else that's also changing and developing into people are overrun with those kind of things. So it's how you're communicating through email that's going to be important now as well, not just that you're sending out a standard newsletter. It's what you're doing with that. Perhaps it's something that's the only way that people can enter to win prizes, is through having that information. If, for example, you didn't have that info and Facebook closed its doors tomorrow, there would go 10,000 people that you were reaching, even if it was paid advertising or however you were doing it. So it's important to try and get that info from people for yourself. And then your systems and processes. Do you have your salon marketing systems in place? And for retaining and rewarding your clients, is everything documented, and are your processes, how are you measuring that? Your social media, are you following those numbers? Have they increased from year on year? Do you have a designated person in the salon that's doing it? And as I mentioned earlier, if somebody else is running it, if it's an agency type person who's running it, who's somebody who's not from the industry, it's very important that you understand all the terminologies and what's available out there, so that you can tell them what it is that you want out of them if somebody else is running it for you. And then marketing, are you spending time in your business, on your business, and not just in your business? And then your promotions, view your promotions that you did last year. Which ones worked, which ones didn't work. Not to say that those can't be improved on, maybe just have an analysis after each time you do a promotion. What was the revenue, how much profit did you make from them? Because it's no good doing promotions if there was no revenue or profit that came from it, even if it's a short-term period profit or a longer-term period profit. It's no good if you've done that and nothing has come out of it. If you've gained awareness, sometimes awareness only shows up in a long-term form rather than just like kind of overnight. So depending on what your promotion is, but that's a whole other video that we can do and talk about. And then yourself, are you keeping your own marketing skills and your resources up to date? Are you investing in yourself and your management software? And then your team and your resources. What was last year's marketing budget? It's very important to understand that you need to have a marketing budget. I think people think that you just take things off the shelf. It doesn't work like that. You need to actually put aside money that will be spent on marketing and promotions, so that you're not taking out of profits. You're still able to pay your staff. It's very important to understand your marketing budget. And then how much time do you need to put aside each week to work on it? And then do you need external marketing help, which we've spoken about? Which members of your team can help you on a day-to-day basis with marketing activities? Use your salon software marketing. I think some people have features that they could probably be using more intensely. And maybe you should invest in more marketing and education training, depending what it is that you do or have done in the past. Then if we move on to step number 2, where we say we're going to have a look at our goals. These are what they call SMART goals. So where do we want to be? The goals need to be specific. They need to be meaningful. They need to be achievable. They need to be realistic, and they need to be time limited. So if we have a look at those, get for a specific. So you want to get X amount of new client appointments in each calendar month, for example. You want to increase your average services or of your invoices. You know, what is the meaning of it? How specific is it? Are you boosting the number of visitors you want to get to your website as part of the goals? Maybe by the end of the year you want to have gained so many extra people on a social media following, or your database, or your client list updated from handwritten onto your salon software. So make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you're using a calendar, and that you are solving a problem when you are looking at what your goals that are for the year. Well, the goals can be split up, not just for, you can think of the entire year goals, and then you can split them into quarterly, and you can split them into monthlies. So that and I would say that if you get everybody in the salon to understand, or whoever's working with you, what your goal is, and that you're all working towards the same thing, and that when you're meeting once a week, you reiterating what that goal is and how important each person is in reaching that goal, and that nobody is excluded. Then your approach. Step number 3, your approach. So how can we get there? So you need to decide on your marketing strategy. Strategy is just a fancy term for your broad approach. Look at the following areas and decide on your future salon policy. So your branding strategy, a strong, clear brand that differentiates you in the local marketplace. Your services strategy. Would additional services such as hair extensions, or maybe using Olaplex, what things are other services that people are offering, or could you be offering that maybe clients, you could be doing add-ons. Maybe it's nails if you have a hair salon, maybe it's doing braiding, or enticing people to come in once a week for a blow, or once a month for a blow dry, where they would maybe only coming to the salon once every 6 to 8 to 10 weeks, just when they have their color done. And then your pricing strategy. Are you just check what your prices are? Are you at a high price bracket? Are you at a low price bracket? And are you in the right place for what it is that you offer? So is your pricing matching the technical skills, your customer experience that they are getting? And then your promotional strategy. How are you getting the message out to your target audience? Think of your marketing tools, your advertising, online, PR, your search engine optimization, social media, local partnerships, blogging. What is the most effective way you attract and retain your clients? And then implementing. So part 4 of the marketing plan is implementing. So it's very good to have a mix of all sorts of marketing options, and not just one. In the old days, people might have just printed something in their local Caxton newspaper. I remember those being delivered, or they would be in what they used to have a thing called the Yellow Pages. Was if you were looking for a local business, you would search under H for hair salons and look for something in your area. Now there's so much so many more options. Make sure your website's good. Listen, websites I think have changed a lot. People say that you have to have a website. Maybe your business is working well just by using social media, and you feel like you don't even need a website. If you do have a website, maybe you just need a simple one-pager that gives your details of what it is you're offering. Maybe you want to decide you're going to retail all your online now, instead of just offering retail for when people come into the salon. So if you could upload and create an online store, this is a whole other thing that we've been moving into for the last couple of years, but this industry has been a bit slow on the uptake with that. And I think that you could start pushing people into that arena, because people are buying a lot more online, more than people realize. And so they might feel they've run out of shampoo and conditioner, but don't want to leave their home or don't want to be close to people. Some people are still aware about masks and that kind of thing, or they just found it so much easier to get it delivered. I mean, if you know that you can order your food online from Woolworths or Pick and Pay, you don't really need to go to the store. I think a lot of people don't even like shopping, so they do use those kind of options as well. So why not become part of one of those? Let them order their retail from you. And then your print materials, how do they look? And your advertising and your PR, what are you doing? Any local partnerships, maybe with other businesses in your areas or people you know? Your word of mouth, how is that going? Email and SMS, and then everything to do with social media. You should implement, find out what that is. And like I said, I've got some hacks on understanding who your audience is. That'll help you target better on social media instead of just doing random, and understanding which platforms work well for you. With that, it's important to have a marketing calendar. I have got an updated one that says 2021. I've got this in an Excel spreadsheet just because then it's editable, and that you can download in a PDF or in Excel. There's so many other ways of doing marketing calendars. This is a simple and basic one. I will go into a video on doing strategy and planning more in depth, but for now, make sure you've got something that's similar to this. So those are your basics that you're focusing on. Then you might decide, well, that March is a good month for, you want to push retail or something through Easter. Put those promotions in there and have a look at the topics across the top there. What are you going to do if you're doing something on highlights, for example, or balayage? What part of that will you do in salon? How is it going to affect what shows up on your website, what shows up on your social media? Are you doing any PR for that? Are you doing any advertising online or offline? Direct mail? What email marketing are you doing to go with that? And then see if there's somebody in the salon who could be responsible for certain things. If you get people involved with you, or if you don't have a large staff, maybe you even have family members who you can speak to and ask them for input. It's really good to brainstorm with other people. It does help a lot if you're working on your own. So then once you've done your marketing plan, it's good to do an evaluation, because this is how we get to know if what we've done has worked or not. So decide how what it is that you're doing is going to be measured. And measurement is not a once-off event. You either do it like every 4 weeks, or every calendar month, or every year, or every quarter. Decide what it is that you're doing, but have a look at each of those ones. So, for example, your services, your professional sales. How did your services do versus retail? Of your new clients, which were first-time clients, and how are you staying in contact with them? Which ones were returning, and if they haven't returned for a very long time, what are you doing to stay in touch with them? Were the ones that came that only came because they accepted special offers? That means that there's something that works for you, or possibly you need to change what those offers are, or find out if you can entice those people back into the salon again. So once you have all the info, you can start that cycle all over again. So that's kind of the marketing plan in a nutshell. I really hope that this has helped you, and please look out very soon for more marketing videos, in particular going very in depth on social media, how to use Facebook properly, either from scratch, or if you're more advanced, what else you can do, how to do certain things in Instagram, what are stories, what is IGTV, what are Instagram reels, how to attract people through there, how to link your Instagram and your Facebook together, what sort of things you should be showing on Instagram that you shouldn't be showing on Facebook, and vice versa. Those two are really linked together, and those are the two that I would highly recommend anybody in our industry use. And some people are using TikTok very successfully now too. I would say it depends on who your audience is. If your audience is a bit younger, even though that's a young audience, in 5 and 10 years time, those could be your very target audience. So keep an open mind on anything. If you'd like to get hold of me, please, you're welcome to email ursulabrett@gmail.com. I'd appreciate that. Otherwise, send me a DM. Thank you.